Hello everybody, how are you going? Welcome to English Differences from Around the World. This one being a comparison between the USA, Australia, Ireland, the UK somehow, as well as Ireland, and of course New Zealand. And so as much as there will be overlaps, what are the differences?
Hi, I'm Christina from the US.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Lauren from the
Christina,
UK.
Lauren.
Hi, I'm Emer from Ireland.
Hi, I'm Rory from Australia.
I'm Dylan from New Zealand.
Word differences among different countries, of course.
We already know that we use different words. We may use similar words, I think, because we're close.
You would
and
hope so.
maybe you two will
I
use
feel
similar
like
words.
we'll use more similar words to the UK than we might to the US. But also, Australians shorten everything.
You have your own word for everything.
Oh,
so-
come on now. There's the loo, there's so many words for it, but there's the toilet, there's plenty of things that I'm sure they're going to be covering. But I do also agree that especially out of this lineup, being kind of 4 British colonies and 1 ex-British colony, the USA is definitely the outcast here. I mean, for goodness sake, the UK and Ireland, so close. Australia and New Zealand, realistically so close. And so you've got 2 pairings and also a 4 compared to a 1. What are
In
we
the
gonna
US, toilet.
Yep.
In the UK, loo or toilet.
Yep,
In
makes
Ireland,
sense.
Toilet.
In Australia, toilet.
Yeah.
Dummy?
You gotta say
Now
dunny.
the dunny is like outside, like an outside toilet. You might
Yeah.
call that a dunny, but that toilet.
New Zealand toilet.
Would I call the actual thing the loo? It's more like the loo is the room. But then this
Exactly.
is also the loo. I don't know. Loo?
Sometimes we say
No.
loo. Like if someone said the loo, we know
The
it's like
loo.
that
Going to the
place.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
going to the loo.
Am I going to the loo? I don't know.
I also think that what they showcase there is such an advantage between, I guess, the current British colonies. We just seem to have an understanding, a much greater world understanding of what kind of the context of what things may be. I mean, if you have no idea, then sure. But otherwise, you go, okay, I've heard the loo, no one uses the loo, but I definitely know of it as a word. And so Ireland was going, yeah, I guess we'll use it. Even New Zealand just tried to get Australia to say dunny, where I feel like for a lot of what we see with the USA, they generally aren't able to pick it up as easily, which is weird because they have their own slang. It's not like they're just devoid of it, but they aren't able to pick it up. And is that just a British interpretation of words that they've lost? Or why is that? A chicken?
In the
I
US,
guess.
this is a chicken. In
Yeah.
the UK, this is also a chicken.
In
Yeah.
Ireland, it's also a chicken.
In Australia, it's a chicken.
In New Zealand, it is a chicken.
You could
What
refer
would
to
it
it as
be?
a chook, but you would
Yeah.
call it a chicken. But if you were going to have like a roast chicken, you could call it a roast chook.
Ah.
Okay,
Once
yeah.
it's been cooked.
It's still the chicken. But maybe you call it a chook. Most people would say they're going to eat chicken, but you could say chucked a chook like on the barbie.
Chuck the chook! That is the most Australian sentence I've heard. Chuck the chook on the barbie.
Oh, come on now. You can get behind it. You chucked a chook on the barbie. You maybe went down to Woolies and you got one of their chooks, whatever it may be. You can definitely get some chooks. But no, like I said, immediately when I saw the image, it is a chicken. I don't know what they were kind of probing for by asking that as a sentence. Obviously, it's a produced video. So what were they... I mean, maybe it's just meant to be generic, but I'm just trying to figure out what were they expecting? What might be a stereotype that would come up? I have no idea because it's an animal. I mean, people, yeah, you can have slang, but it's pretty rare. Like a dog doesn't generally have a slang word for a dog. We just happen to have chook in there as well. But it's just a change. It doesn't even shorten it. It's not even really slang shortened. It's just a different word for the same thing that people might use. And to be fair to him, it's not only ever used in chuck a chook on the barbie kind of way. It could also be if you have chickens, did you feed the chooks today? Or did they get out? Or whatever it may be. Did you lock the chook cage or the chicken cage? They're interchangeable, but people will use them whenever they see fit.
So in the US, is a hurricane.
Hurricane
In
is what
the
they're gonna
UK,
say,
we would
but
say
it's a
hurricane.
cyclone.
In Ireland, hurricane.
In Australia, you'd probably say cyclone, but you would know what a hurricane is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
New Zealand would say cyclone, but we don't have any, so.
Yeah, us too.
Yeah.
I think like cyclone is also used commonly, but like in the news, which would be where we would see would be
Yeah.
like hurricane.
If someone said cyclone, I'd know what it is.
Right. Is that because... I'm trying to think why that would be. Why are we using cyclones? I mean, I guess they're not identical things, but if the UK, both Ireland and the UK, the British Isles aren't having any of them, then they are going to be realistically more so hearing about them in a North American sense because they're going to be in the Atlantic Ocean. And so it's going to be like hurricane this and hurricane that, which is where they're going to be hearing them. I mean, you might have also some Australian coverage as well going over there. And of course, they said that they did know what it was, but we are using definitely cyclones and they are using hurricanes. But has it always been that way? Or is it just because they don't have it, they just use the vernacular they hear being presented to them from the USA? What's
In
that,
the
a
US,
till?
cash register.
In the
Okay.
UK, till.
In Ireland, it's the till.
In Australia, it's the till.
Yeah.
And in New Zealand, it's the till.
Sorry, Christina.
Bye. Till?
Cash register is so long.
It's like
Yeah.
a tongue twister too. Cash register.
Cash register,
Till is
yeah.
so much easier to
Yeah.
say though.
I feel like in Ireland I've heard register sometimes.
I think like you hear it in like Seinfeld and stuff, so you just know like what it is.
You
Of
know
course
what
you
it
know what it
is. Till, never. I never hear till, but it's so much easier to say.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, like they said, everybody knows what it would be, and people do also use the cash register or even just register. Like, if you have the context of you're at the shops and you're going, oh, I'll just duck off to the register, or I'm just going to go to the register, I'll meet you there, people know what you're talking about. But otherwise, yeah, till was the first word that came to mind when I see that object as a kind of soul place. Not that they really exist in that form anymore. To that degree, it's definitely going to be, that's the till. And I don't know if it's shortened for something else. I don't know if it's Latin for something else, or I don't know where it's come from. But yep, 4v1, it was pretty conclusive that the British Isles and all the British colonies are definitely going to be agreeing that it's the till. And USA, you're just going to have to get behind it, because she certainly seemed to be able to get behind it as well. So what does Canada use as well? Because if they're going to be currently British as well, to a certain degree, besides Quebec, of course, are they going to be using till, or are they just going to be Americanized and using cash register? I would imagine cash register would be the pick.
In the US,
autumn?
normally
Fall is
people
what
would
what
say
they're
fall.
talking about?
In the UK, we would say autumn.
Ireland, it's autumn.
In Australia, it's autumn.
A
And New Zealand, it's
4v1.
autumn.
Oh, see ya.
Autumn too, but I think typically fall is much more commonly used. But we definitely know autumn. Always like fall festival. Yeah, it would be fall.
Yeah, no one has. I don't think I've ever heard someone from the USA or North America talking about autumn. Not once. I mean, I understand that people would know about it, but to actually hear that they are using it, never. Not in any media, not in anything ever. And I guess that's kind of different to the last one where we shortened down to till or whatever it is. Fall is basically just that equivalent. But I do want to know, it's not technically the name of the season, is it? Like, because that's what summer, winter, autumn, spring is. That's the names of the seasons if you were going by a 4-season calendar, where fall is kind of a descriptor of what people are seeing, but they're using it in place of autumn, but it's not the name of the season exactly, is it? Like, is it the official name? Is it another official name, or is it a colloquial name for autumn?
In the US,
tick?
it's a check.
In the UK,
Check.
it is a tick.
Ireland, it's a tick.
In Australia, that's a tick.
In New
4v1
Zealand, that's a
again.
tick.
Oh no. This poor Christina.
Whoa. Yeah, hearing tick, we would be like a tick, like you know the bug.
Right, okay.
Like a tick,
It's the sound you make, like tick, tick.
Yeah.
tick, tick, check.
No. Oh, get out of here. Like, you can have, a check mark. A check mark is what you tick. That, I guess that's the best way I can describe it, is you can have a check mark and you either put a cross or a tick or leave it blank, whatever you want to be doing with it. But that is how you use the check mark, but you tick it or cross it. That's kind of the idea, where to be saying check, no way. I mean, if I was to hear check, I'm only hearing kind of like a bank note check kind of thing. No markings or any kind of ticking or anything like that.
So in the US,
what is
vacation
that?
house.
In the
Oh,
UK,
right,
this would
okay.
be a holiday home.
In Ireland, it'd be a holiday
house?
home.
In Australia, it would be a holiday house.
In New Zealand, this would be a batch.
And batches specifically for like holidays.
It's like your
vacations.
house you go to on holiday.
And where
Damn.
do people usually have their batches?
Usually
Batches.
on the beach. Like on the beach or in, nearby the beach.
Somewhere relaxing.
I have absolutely no idea why it's called a batch.
So random.
Your batches. I mean, you could see her brain trying to process where do people have their batches. And it does sound a bit weird, but it's also understandable. It's just a word. But he doesn't even know where it comes from. There's no kind of origin. And for him to be saying that they're having them on the beach, like seriously, on the New Zealand beaches? Pfft, I mean, New Zealand has some cool visual beaches, but bloody hell, you're not going to be wanting to go into the water. It's like 2 degrees from most of New Zealand. I mean, most of the year, unless you're going all the way up the top, then maybe you're getting some similar temperatures to Melbourne. but nobody swims in the water in Melbourne. So why would you want to be swimming anywhere in New Zealand unless you're just having a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mil wetsuit? That's just crazy. I mean, it's just what you're acclimatized to, but still, they don't have the same kind of weather. New Zealand's beautiful, but not for its beaches and everything like that. So just stick to your nice holiday houses, I would say more so.
So in the
store.
US convenience store?
In the UK, we would say corner shop.
In Ireland, it's also a corner shop.
In Australia, you'd probably say convenience store, but you might, if you were older, call it a milk bar.
Sell milk there, right?
I guess that's probably where it came from. I know my granddad would have called something like that a milk bar.
Well, in New Zealand, we call it a dairy.
Just dairy.
Dairy.
Same logic, I guess. Like
Milk. They sell milk.
And ours are on the corners usually, or they used to be, so that's why we call them corner shop.
Yeah, corner stores, corner shops, that all definitely makes sense. Convenience store, people have heard that a million times, so everybody knows what it is. I am kind of surprised though that the UK or even Ireland doesn't share any of the dairy logic, like they don't even have it as an option. Like it's a convenience store, it's a corner store, but it also could be, like they said, a milk bar, a dairy or anything like that. I'm wondering where we got that from. I would have thought, given the history, like given the time frame of how long ago milk bar would have been introduced, that it would have been coming from Britain. I would have expected it to, but maybe not. Maybe people were just getting their dairy instead of getting it delivered to their houses. You could go down there and get it. It makes sense. I understand where the name comes from, but I'm surprised it's Australian, New Zealand and not British. A pram? I'm guessing.
So in the US, this would be a stroller.
In the UK, this would be a pram.
In Ireland, pram or a buggy. Yeah, I think buggies are more the ones where they're facing forward, though. Instead of, I think, and a pram would be the
Being
one.
a father here, like
Wow.
now you can switch them around, no problem.
Oh wow, you can do both buggy and pramming.
Wow, there you go.
in Australia,
Two
you
for
call that
one
a
deal.
pram.
Yeah, in New Zealand you'd call that a pram.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm kind of surprised that you didn't get any trolleys in there. Like, I wouldn't be surprised, as much as the USA doesn't use trolley for their shopping carts, so to say, I'm surprised that someone didn't throw out that as an option. I feel like there's similar enough items that they might have been, but no, everyone was on board with the pram or the stroller. Again, the USA is just such a cheat code. Everybody knows what people are talking about because I've heard it again a million times, whether it's convenience store, stroller, shopping cart, I don't know. There's a million possible things out there that every single other person in the world definitely knows, but it doesn't feel like it's ever reciprocated. That is, I guess, the main thing. And I guess the population of the USA is more than all of these other countries combined. So in that regard, I can understand, but still, it's nice to be seeing the 4v1 here, because you can see from a number of countries point of view, the USA is definitely the odd one out.
In the
Jumps?
US, this is a jumping jack.
Jumping
In
jack.
the UK, this is a star jump.
In Ireland,
go.
we'd say jumping jacks.
In Australia,
Wow.
we'd call that a star jump.
In New Zealand we'd call that a star jump.
Oh, Ireland. Why would that be a
Who's
thing?
Jack?
Yeah, who is Jack?
Why jumping Jack?
You know, he just had a thing where he would do these kind of jumps and they just called up.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a jumping jack. No, I don't know. I don't know the history. Is
Yeah.
it jack like a...
The game.
The game, they do kind of look like those jacks, hey?
Yeah.
Is
I
that,
think
wait,
that's why.
they
It's
pull
like
up a video
The game.
there. That's not what I was expecting. Aren't jacks like, I'm going to say that they're plastic now, but they probably would have been wooden at the time. A little, I don't know, like, I don't know what to call them besides pointed stars, like six-sided. If you just made a dice pointy, so to say, is that a jack as well? That's what I'm thinking a jack would be. So that's where then I'm getting that's where I would have thought people were getting the shape from, the human form, because it's a similar representation of a jack. Kind of looks like a tire spike or something like that. So it's jumping jacks. That would make sense. Not that it's a person. I mean, Jack's such a generic name in that regard. But then they pulled up this video game and I have no idea what the context of that is. I don't know who the big guy is. I don't know who the little guys are. No idea. So maybe it's a bit of a double whammy of culture coming together. Either way, it's definitely star jumps. It's a little bit easier. You get the head as the top and the arms and the legs as everything else. But it doesn't really describe jumping jacks, sorry. It doesn't really describe what you're doing. There is no way to know. Cop, a
In
police
the
officer,
US, police.
In the UK, police.
In Ireland, it's Garda.
Garda.
That is an Irish word. We
Yes.
don't have an English word. I mean, you could call it a policeman or police officer, but we call them Garda or the Gardaí.
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 Oh, I like that Garda.
The Gardaí.
In Australia, that's a police officer.
Yeah, in New Zealand that's the police.
The police.
The police.
The police.
When there's an article, you know you got to serious.
So yeah, the same in the US. The police.
Hearing the word article just threw me off there. I was going, what? Hang on. an article, what would you be? Oh no, I believe that's actually a fine or a ticket or whatever you want to be calling it, which is interesting that New Zealand is saying that. I would have thought that they would say it's a fine as well. I mean, it is just one person, and so it could certainly be just one police officer, but it also could just be a cop. So does anyone else have any other words? Because I know, even let's say for Canada, it's more to do with the horses as well, but you have the Mounties, which is a little bit different, but at least that's a completely different word that people in Canada all know what it's going to be like.
It was fun. I like the Guardy. That was different for me.
I think it was funny. It was just like you by yourself, and then we all said the same kind of words.
Which
I didn't
makes
expect
sense, though.
actually that they would have some similar words with you. But
It's the U.S. doing our own thing
I
again.
thought it was interesting. Like all of us were
Always
the
getting rid
same,
of you.
except that one where we had jumping jacks.
Yeah.
I was like, I thought like
random.
it would all be the same. Like, you know, or something. But
guess
yeah.
that's
And then
where-
of course the Guardy.
I guess that's where mixing and melting pots can just be so interesting, where obviously the Irish heritage, I can only believe would jumping jacks would have been old enough to carry that across to North America. Or, I mean, unless it's just come after for some reason, but otherwise the fact that they've held on to that, or at least that's just become the thing, whether, unless it's gone the other way even. I didn't even just think about that. The fact that maybe Ireland, for some unknown reason, is just taking it from the USA more than the British Isles, which would be crazy. And I'd love to know what is Scotland and Wales and Northern Ireland as well, but what are those guys using for even all of these words? Because between the British Isles, you can have so much variation in accent, let alone words as well. I mean, of course, they're all the same language. And so out of the, what is it, like 20 or 30 or 40,000 English words, whatever it is, there's going to be a lot of words that are shared because you need to be understanding everyone that's speaking apparently the same language. But even then, you can have same, similar, different, whatever words that mean the same thing. That is, at least once people have the context, they should be able to figure it out.
Yeah, I think like for New Zealanders, when we travel abroad, like a lot of times there's words that we use that people have no idea.
batch, I would be like, oh, batch of bread.
Batch of bread.
It was good learning like to see how we have similarities and how we're different, you know.
And that is always just the greatest thing about these videos. There's not a competition that they're making it out to be like, oh, okay, well, you would say you lost because you had the least, or you won because you had the most, whatever it is. They're just very openly discussing in a very nice, positive way, just showcasing the differences of the world to everyone. And at least, like always, World Friends does do a great job of just giving us this nice distilled version where we can just see all these different perspectives, whether it's accent, vocabulary, just experiences, weather, fall, whatever it may be. It is certainly very easy to pick up, but it doesn't replace being able to actually talk to someone else in the real world and getting all of their experiences. But hey, World Friends, great job.